There's more music written for the piano than probably all other instruments combined. And yet, we pianists are so spoiled, we also insist on playing music written for every other instrument and genre. From operas to pop songs. From solo guitar pieces to entire symphonies. The piano is the great imitation machine. It has a neutral timbre, and its notes span from the lowest to the very highest pitches.
One of the great weaknesses of the piano is it really doesn't have its own voice. How many times has your teacher said, sound like a singer here, sound like a viola, sound like this, never sound like a piano. But because it is neutral sounding, we are able to sort of imbue it with a certain amount of personality and are able to sort of encompass a wide range of repertoire as a result.
That's Koji Atwood, virtuoso pianist and transcription artist extraordinaire, performing his own transcription of Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, a piece usually played by an 80-piece orchestra, played here by a one-man band. And in this video, Koji will be joining us to give his top 10 list of the most mind-blowing performances of music transcribed for the piano.
Just insane reflexes, first of all. I mean, there was a 3-star Michelin chef named Marco Pierre White. Just watch him chop an onion. It's incredible. And that's a nervous system and a reflex that just it's from years of training, but also you kind of have to be born a little bit with that. So Cyprian's got that, and that comes through in that clip for sure.
Katsaris just toppled Horowitz. So, sorry, that's where you go.
Sorry. Apologies, Logia.
I should probably change the shirt, too. I don't know. What we just heard was only an honorable mention. I want to emphasize that this top 10 list is 100% subjective.
Yes.
According to completely arbitrary criteria, should not be taken as any kind of definitive top 10 list of piano transcriptions, because of course there is no such list. I'm using transcription loosely here, arrangements, all kinds of things that might not necessarily be written down. But because there's such a rich and varied legacy of piano transcriptions, we're not going to be able to even scratch the surface of everything that's out there. And we urge you to shout out your own favorite transcriptions, ones we left off the list, or maybe go make some of your own, like Koji here, Koji Atwood's Taraga. This is a guitar piece featuring a distinctly guitar technique, a tremolo, that Koji has rendered beautifully as repeated notes on the piano. Koji will actually be performing this Taraga piece at the Utah State Summer Piano Festival here in Logan, Utah, and I will actually be directing this Summer Piano Festival in mid-June for pre-college age students. Koji will also be giving a workshop on the art of transcription for those students, and it's all part of a really cool curriculum I've designed around keyboard musicianship and piano artistry. It's an intense 5 days in the middle of June, so if you or someone you know is a teenage pianist, really at any level, click here or check the link in the description for more info. It's going to be really fun.
And ice cream. They have really good ice cream there too.
And the Aggie ice cream. Got to shout it out. Okay, having said all that, Koji, it's time. The top 10 most insane, mind-blowing piano transcriptions, according to Koji Atwood. Number 10, Myra Hess, her performance of her own arrangement of Bach's Jesu, Joy of a Man's Desiring. I hate to cut her off. Koji, what made you add this to the list?
A couple factors. One, obviously, Myra Hess was an amazing, not just pianist, but I feel an amazing sort of courageous figure. Someone who would be playing free concerts for soldiers during the London Blitz with bombs going off and playing German music. That's pretty courageous. Two, her control of line and phrasing is, second to none, because she was, so concerned about the sound quality at all times, and you can really hear that in all her performances.
I think what is virtuosic about this is just the differentiation between what the strings are doing and what the choir is doing.
Yeah, control is a type of virtuosity, and that may be the most beautiful B I've ever heard.
Speaking of bees, the bumblebee is next on the list, and that is Georges Siffre's Flight of the Bumblebee, his own transcription of it at his Paris debut, I believe it's 1957.
Yep.
This is, I guess, interlocking octaves like all the way through.
Well, it's his specialty. That's the cool thing about these transcriptions is you really get an insight into their pianism and what were their strengths that they tried to highlight, and maybe hide some of the so-called, I don't think Siffre or Horowitz had weaknesses necessarily, but there are things that they were just better at than just about anybody on the planet. So they could, sort of harness these transcriptions towards their strengths and really show off what they were capable of. One of the kind of trademark pieces that he's known for better or worse, because a lot of times he's not taken, I feel like, as seriously as the deep musician that he was.
We are almost embarrassed to include this because it might typecast him as this circus freak.
So if you want to hear the other side of Siffre's personality, he made a wonderful recording of some French Baroque music, Dokken and Rameau and that sort of thing, and you really get a sense his Scarlatti is wonderful. So he was a complete pianist for sure, but what everyone usually remembers him for is how fast he could play. Like with Cyprian, we're talking about someone who is operating at the outer limits of what the human nervous system is even capable of. This was at his debut, I believe. He just played the Tchaikovsky Concerto. Apparently it was like a 20-minute standing ovation that he felt compelled to come out and play this, and you can hear the audience response to him playing such an encore. Pretty good.
I like Koji's list, kind of alternates between the
ridiculous and the sublime.
That's what it is, the ridiculous and the sublime. So, number 8. We're back to the sublime. This is a transcription by Franz Liszt, 19th century, of an earlier work by Schubert, a song, and it's rendered here by 20th century pianist Sofronitsky. Yeah, it's almost a crime to have to stop that. But
that's phrasing, my friend. That is phrasing. And the synergy between the hands, the singer and accompanist. Wow, that is special. I mean, when he was on, he was special.
Tell us about Sofronitsky.
I mean, when we talk about the Soviet school of piano playing per se, it's usually reduced to two figures, gigantic figures, obviously, Gilels and Richter, for obvious reasons. But the Russian and Soviet school of pianism goes all the way back to Anton Rubinstein. Unfortunately, we don't have any recordings of him. There was a concert and afterwards making toasts to each other. And he said, Richter, you are a genius. And Richter said, no, Sofronitsky, you are a god. Pianists in that era really held Sofronitsky to a high regard.
It feels like in every field, there are the sort of well-known mainstream greats. But then if you ask even those greats, they'll often have some name that they'll pull out. In the stand-up comedy world, for example, it's Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were going to mention Patrice. I mean, my goodness, like R.I.P. I mean, Elephant in the Room, and that's his only stand-up special. I mean, he would have been huge.
I would say that Patrice O'Neill is the Vladimir Sofronitsky of stand-up comedy.
He was a genius.
So we just had a Sublime, and that means we're back to the insane, the ridiculous. This is the Scherzo from Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony as transcribed by Feinberg.
One of the greatest transcriptions, in my opinion, ever written. And Berman's rendition of it is staggering. The Soviets at the time of the Cold War were kind of almost feel like they were in this laboratory developing two things in particular, chess players and musicians. So you'll find this inordinate amount of great chess players from the 40s and 60s, all the way from, Botvinnik to Petrosian and Spassky. And so Berman was this really kind of up-and-coming Soviet pianist that was being really sort of trumpeted by all these other pianists. So there's a lot of anticipation for when he finally emerged.
That's pretty good. That's pretty fun.
Pretty awesome.
I first met Koji online in the DM section of the Piano World forums, and I want to say 2006, 2007. You were this god, to those of us who were younger. I mean, because you shared some of your own performances. This was one of the videos I think you had on your YouTube channel.
It's very difficult. However, and I give Feinberg full credit for this, it's weirdly pianistic in its own way. There's a logic to it. My one change, the E major part that repeats twice, on the second repetition, I went ahead and added octaves just because I was crazy back then.
And also, you added another element, which is to throw on the shades. More classical pianists should play with sunglasses.
Well, the management that I was with at the time urged me strongly to take it down, which I did. But nowadays, maybe it would have gone viral and I would have gotten some concerts out of it.
Koji, put it right back up. You just mentioned it. We're going to link to this.
If you get enough likes, I'll make it public again.
Okay, guys, if you can get to 1,000 likes on this video, Koji's gonna post his Chaik 6. All right, we're moving on. I think we're back to the Sublime, a transcription of Debussy's Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun by one George Copeland. Here's a piece I never thought would work on the piano. It seems like it's purely an orchestral color piece.
It is viable on the piano, particularly when it's played this beautifully. I think along with Marcel Meyer, they both coached with Debussy, and Marcel Meyer actually recorded, I believe, the complete works of Debussy, and she should be a pianist much more well known. George Copeland was the other one who really impressed Debussy, who was a very good pianist in his own right, and that he really sort of, in a way, captured the essence of what Debussy felt like he was trying to do on the piano, that kind of liquidity.
So next on the list, Rachmaninoff's transcription of the Scherzo from Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream.
Moiseiwitz and Rachmaninoff were actually close friends. Rachmaninoff actually felt that Moiseiwitz was one of the best pianists to play his own music. It happened by a happy accident, apparently. He was in the studio recording something completely different. And they had a little bit of tape left over. And he said, we got enough time for one piece. And then Moiseiwitz apparently just sat down and did this in one take. And I'm still always just absolutely flabbergasted and marveled at the lightness of his touch and really sounding like flutes in the beginning. And it's a fantastic transcription. I think it's one of the great transcriptions as well.
That one sort of counts as both sublime and just
ridiculous.
Wild and ridiculous at the same time. The next one is purely wild and ridiculous. This is Grieg, Peer Gynt in the Hall of the Mountain King, transcribed or arranged by Ginsberg.
Grieg Ginsberg, yeah.
I might just need to fast forward straight to the end. Yeah,
that's a pisser. Ginsberg was another one of these great Soviet pianists who's not as well known now as he definitely should be.
It's time to move on to we're already down to 3. We are flying here. And we're back with Mr. Katsaris. This is Bach's Badineri.
The famous flute solo.
Starts out as just a happy little flute transcription, so you think. Let's see what it sounds like. We're talking about transcriptions. We're not trying to always sound like the original. Obviously, transcription is a very loose term in the piano.
Right. I would say this is maybe more of a paraphrase.
Yeah, there's lots of words for it. And when he first brings it in, it sounds like there's a million things happening, but the line is descending so gradually.
It's a scale within a scale, basically. But he's bringing it out in a really nice way. I mean, the way that it's also voiced, it always sounds like broken glass. Slightly over-engineered in a way, but, it's really cool.
Volodos uses that kind of configuration a lot. I think it's a trademark of his.
Thank you for bringing up Volodos. True story. There was a promotional CD that was in Piano International, and my friend had Volodos over to his house. He was practicing there, and he cracks open the CD, and it's Cyprian doing this Badineri. He said Volodos listened to that particular performance 50 times in a row. It wasn't published at the time, so I tried learning it by ear. My goodness, it took months to try to figure out what the heck's he doing here, and and I could never really play it up to the tempo that it needed to go. So it just shows how difficult it is as well.
Let's hear the end.
Yeah, Mark made the comment, Hamlin, that chord is worth the price of admission. Just the chord, it's so audacious.
Speaking of Volodos, there's a wonderful video of him just kind of in somebody's living room playing his own transcription of Horowitz's transcription of Liszt's transcription of Mendelssohn's Wedding March. That's got to be the longest string of layers and piles of transcribers upon transcribers. That's a foursome. I don't know if you can think of any that go to 4 like that.
No, I mean, you need to do your own version, so we'll make it 5.
Well, the thing about my transcription is I'm just going to erase all the notes, and it's going to be 4 minutes and 30 seconds of silence. it's not so virtuosic, but Koji Atwood is the descendant of Mozart's student, Thomas Atwood. Koji, what is it that Mozart said about your great grandpappy?
Well, in one of the early counterpoint exercises, I think he got the clefs mixed up or something. And you can clearly see written twice, "You are an ass." So he was called an ass by Mozart.
Speaking of Horowitz and speaking of Liszt transcription, so the next is the Rákóczi March, sort of famous Hungarian anthem, which was composed, I think, in the early 19th century, probably was heard by Liszt and others in many different forms, by band, other kind of ensembles. Liszt writes a Hungarian Rhapsody, number 15, on this theme. And so it's already kind of a transcription, right? Liszt's own version of it.
Yeah. And I hasten to point out the Liszt version is terrific. I mean, it's wonderful. There's a terrific recording of Gilels playing it, by the way.
Yes.
But what Horowitz does with it is something else.
I mean, you play this. Everyone can go watch Koji play this.
It's a shadow of what he's capable of. I was so inspired, I had to learn it. And again, it's something that I learned by ear. So some of the stuff in that recording, it's almost like the engineers turned the dials up to 11. It's so loud, I couldn't even tell what the notes are anymore, and it doesn't kind of matter. You're just going for a certain kind of color.
It's so cool. Let's just hear a little bit of the ending here.
I picked this because I think it just shows the gamut of what Horowitz was capable of, the huge sonorities, the double notes, the finger work, and most importantly for a piece like this, the rhythm. I mean, he just bludgeons you over the head with that rhythm sometimes. It's so powerful, the build up there. It just, I can only imagine what it must have been like to be in a concert hall, to feel that kind of electricity and tension. And that's why, audience just went mad for him.
And I should mention also, there's other famous Horowitz transcriptions we could have chosen. He loved the Sousa, especially after World War II. Every Carnegie performance, if you find online, there's so many that end with the Sousa, Stars and Stripes Forever.
That's a fabulous, just for the piccolo part alone, that's a fabulous transcription.
And number one, we're going to go back to the sublime and the personal, and just to underscore the complete subjectiveness and personal nature of this list, Koji, this is your number one most mind-blowing transcription for the piano, and it's just a really heartfelt personal one. It's Wilhelm Kempf's arrangement of a Handel minuet. We'll listen to a little bit.
So one, it's nice to hear, some Handel on the piano. Two, and this is the particular piece that my dad really likes. And so I have kind of like an emotional connection to this piece as a result. So that's why it's, at my top of the list, but it's completely subjective, I understand.
I think it's a fitting way to end. It's a nice number one, and it's going to encourage all of you to make your own lists, fall in love with the piano all over again. And if you find a song or, an opera or a string quartet or a guitar piece or a symphony or whatever that you love and you wish you could play on the piano, try it. Just try a bar. And if you're a teenage pianist between age 14 and 18 and you want to actually come to a piano camp where you're going to be doing this a little bit with Koji himself, again, check out the USU Summer Piano Festival. It's going to be a fun time. Thank you so much, Koji. This has been a real treat. I think I need to go teach a piano lesson now. So.
I need to go teach a piano lesson as well. So
all right.
Thanks for having me.
All
Appreciate it.
Bye, Koji. Take care.
Take care.